Because a lot of people think, oh, you have to be in the video game industry, whether it's keyboards or peripherals, you're selling a video game to be in that space. I would say 95% of our customers aren't even in the entertainment or video space. We had one of the most successful, if you talk about just someone wanting to break into this industry, we had an IT staffing company reach out to us and they said, look, we have all these customers that are looking for developers, but we don't have enough developers on our site to fill the needs of our customers.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Grow IT podcast. One of your hosts here, Trey King. And today we are very excited to have our guest, Mr. Jason Atwood from Dropping Gaming. And we'll be diving into his story a little bit today and what it is that his company does, and then some engaging insights into the technology industry. So make sure to stick around for this one. But without further ado, welcome, Jason. Welcome to the Grow IT podcast.
I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me about our exciting adventure. So I appreciate it.
Lovely. Tell me, Jason, if you don't mind, just to quickly, just from your end, to introduce yourself and just tell a quick snippet or so of your story, please.
Sure. So I'm like said, I'm Jason Atwood. Live in the Northwest, born and raised here. Had kind of a fruitful childhood. Both my brother and I played collegiate baseball. Went on to play minor league and professional baseball. So we were pretty fortunate. But I played back in the 90s, so it was when the strike happened in '94, and so after taking the rest of that season off, and then I was injured, I realized I had to get a real job. So went on and went into IT because my brother was in IT after he stopped his career, and spent about the last 30 years working for big corporations in IT itself. So it's been an adventure.
Excellent. Tell me, and so what, how did you specifically decide to get into this business sector? What was it that sparked your interest, or and why are you so passionate about this?
Well, there's a couple things. One is I've always been competitive my entire life. When I'm not working, I like to play poker. I'm very competitive and have been playing poker since I was 18. And you could play online, you could go, the World Series of Poker, the World Poker Tour. There was a way for it to play entry fees and to be able to play in tournaments and have the opportunity to win cash and prizes. We saw that the only people that were allowed to do that within the gaming industry were the professionals. We never saw an average gamer playing in big tournaments for the opportunity to win cash and prizes. So we were kind of trying to mirror what was happening in poker and mirror that over into the gaming world.
That's interesting.
But the way that we even fell into that. So my co-founder and I were both in the last 15 years in sales. And we were out on a sales call with a big company in Beaverton, retail company in Beaverton. And on the way there, we were like just having chit chat and said, well, what do you like to do in your spare time? I go, well, at night I like to kind of work off my mind and play video games. And he goes, oh, I do too. What do you play? And at the time it was one of the Call of Duty games. He goes, oh, we should play sometime. That'd be great. About 5 days later, I get an invite I'm sorry, it's such a long story, but I get this invite from him. I get this invite from him and I'm like, oh, and so I jump online and we start playing, and he's really good. I love to play, but I'm not very good. We play a couple games and he's just, as in the gaming world, he was just a shredder. And I said, hey, is there anywhere we can play for money? And I go, is there any tournaments or anything? He goes, oh yeah, there's this one site. And I can say the site because they were purchased by Microsoft, so they're not around anymore, called Game Battles. And so he goes, hey, go register on the site and then call me and we'll get back on and we'll play. 20 minutes later, I FaceTime him and I'm like, I can't figure this out. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he walks me through the registration process, finally get registered. And he's like, oh, you got to take your gamer tag and tie it to this. And then you got to put in your social security number. It was like a whole bunch of stuff. And finally get in. Then we go to look for a tournament. There's nothing available. So I wasted all this time and I'm a little frustrated. Well, the next morning he comes into my office and I have this massive whiteboard and I had drafted out the entire user experience. And I was like, this is so broken. I go, why isn't there an easier way for the everyday gamer to do this? And we talked about it a little bit and I go, is this a real thing? And he goes, there's 3.2 billion gamers worldwide. Of course it's a real thing. So we started doing research, and this was right before COVID. and
Yeah.
started doing research on this. And I said, you know what? I think there's a market here. And so
Yeah.
we drafted up a business plan, went and raised some capital from friends and family. While we were working, we started building it, at night. And then we are where we are today.
This is such an interesting story. My word. I never would have thought. And then, well, if you don't mind, you've obviously now touched on it, from a gaming point of view. But if you don't mind, just to elaborate a bit more, Jason, on what is it specifically that your company does?
For sure. So there's two parts to what, if you, because you always break it down to how do you make money? What's your revenue model? The first is the everyday gamer. They come to our site, and so the three problems, and I should say what the three problems in the market really were. One is what I experienced, which was very difficult barrier to entry. The barrier to entry was very difficult for me to be able to get onto a site or even find a site.
Yeah.
And so for us, our to come to our site for the first time to get into a tournament takes 47 seconds on average. The second was people would play in tournaments and they'd either get disqualified. There were some sites that just wouldn't pay them, or it'd be delayed for 30 to 60 days. So we built a proprietary internal wallet within our site. So as soon as the tournament ends, within 15 minutes, the money's in their account. So that's the second. And then the third is something that hasn't happened yet, but we've kind of forecasted that it will happen, is compliance. So we are not a gambling site. We're completely a game of skill, and you just pay an entry fee to play into a tournament. Just like if you went to Dave and Buster's and put a quarter into a video game and then won tickets, and then when you use those tickets to win prizes, we're the same. We do IP validation, so when anybody creates an account or plays in a tournament, we know exactly where they are, so that both at the national and even international and state level, we can regulate around what people and where they are, so that we're in compliance with those laws. So to back to your original question is, someone can come to our site, sign up, and they can just pay an entry fee and play in a tournament. And it doesn't matter. We can do any game. We're a tournament platform, so we can do any game, and it doesn't even have to be a video game. We've had customers that wanted to run a cornhole tournament in their backyard for 50 people, and we become the tournament platform for them to just do on their video game or on their phone to make it easy. So that's the first thing, is someone just can come play in a match or a tournament on our site for video games. The second is the B2B side. A lot of sponsors and corporations are looking, how do I reach the demographic? And it's kind of crazy because the average gamer is 35 years old. I would think they're like, 14 when I first looked at this.
I would have thought it as well.
Yeah. So if you can get from like an 18 to a 45 demographic to reach from a business, and this gaming is it's one of the largest industries, especially in the entertainment. It's the largest, $200 billion spent in this industry. We said, well, most of these advertisers want to tap into that space. And what a better way to reach them is to get into gaming. And then how easy is it if you're just sponsoring a tournament where you're inviting people to come play in this tournament with your brand associated to that? And as you know, with all the streaming out there with Kick and Twitch and YouTube, everything gets exploited, and then a lot of those videos are cut short and then put onto Instagram and Facebook, so that your exposure, is amazing.
Yeah, that is excellent. I'm so fascinated by this.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, please go ahead.
I was just going to say, and something that we saw in the market after, and I mean, I could go on forever about our journey, because it's been a crazy one to get where we are today. But one of the things that we realized is a lot of organizations want to run tournaments, but they don't want to be the ones running it. They just want to say, hey, you do it for me, but I want to lay out the groundwork. So a lot of people said, oh, why don't you white label your service so people can run their tournaments? Well, all the customers and businesses that we talked to, they said, we don't want to do the operations. And when you white label it, it's like you're giving them the opportunity to run the tournament. They don't want to run the tournaments. They want to do all the branding, the sponsorship, the demographic they're going to reach, a lot of the marketing, but we want you to run it. So we do what we call a gray label, where we build a custom page for anybody on our site, where they can put their links and everything and go in the branding. It looks like it's their site, but in the back end, we're running everything for them.
Excellent. So that's quite a convenience, especially like you mentioned from B2B. Tell me, you've mentioned quite a lot now in the sense of from what the company does. What would you say is the biggest value point? You know, if you think about your maybe even from a B2B or the end user, right? What would you say would be some of the biggest value that your customers receive from you guys?
I can give you a specific example.
Yeah,
We
please.
had, because a lot of people think, oh, you have to be in the video game industry, you know, whether it's keyboards or peripherals, or, you know, you're selling a video game to be in that
Yeah.
space. I would say 95% of our customers aren't even in the entertainment or video space.
What?
We had a,
That's so interesting.
yeah, we had one of the most successful, if you talk about just someone wanting to break into this industry, we
Yeah.
had an IT staffing company reach out to us and they said, look, we have all these customers that are looking for developers, but we don't have enough developers on our site to fill the needs of our customers. And we want to talk to you if you have any ideas. And when we said, well, most developers are gamers. So if you give them an opportunity to play in some type of video game with a reward, we could probably get them to sign up on your site. And they were telling us that their customer acquisition cost was about $138 per developer to bring them on board.
All
And
right.
we said, why don't we run a 10-week series of tournaments? And they put up the prize pool. It's free to enter, but we're giving away cash to people. And we'll do like a 15-second pre-roll video with a link to your guys' site to sign up. Now, we can't set any, I mean, just because of laws and stuff, we can't say you have to sign up to be able to play in the tournament, because
Yeah.
anybody, you know, it's like the no purchase necessary. But
Sure.
we still have them go to the link and they drop their customer acquisition cost to $34 from the $136 that it was. And it was an overnight success for them. And we only did it for 10 weeks. For the amount of developers that signed up on their site. And for us, it's great because people are signing up on our site to play in the tournament, and then they're reoccurring customers for us. But for them, you know, they made a $5,000 investment and had, you know, hundreds of people sign up on their site.
Yeah.
Now, the challenge is they could have had thousands of tens of thousands, is the marketing was on them to say, hey, here's a tournament. I mean, we still did marketing for them, but to put out there, hey, if you guys want to play in this tournament, you know, you can come and see our site and push them towards the tournament. They didn't really even do that, and it still had success. So that's just one example of the value that people can get because they're reaching that demographic, and it can be very specific because we can run, you know, any type of metrics to what they're looking for and tie
Yeah.
things around that.
Yeah, that is excellent. Geez, what a case study. You know, I was thinking now that you've got quite a backstory in the sense of, you know, from the obviously your sporting career, and then obviously up until where you are now. Tell me, in your opinion, right? What type of mindset would you say is needed to be a successful founder of a company?
um, Patience. You cannot, and the reason I say that, we've had, I mean, there's so many things. It's funny. This morning I was just talking to our other co-founder,
Yeah.
because there's so many things that, oh, if we would have just known this, and we were talking about, if there's all these books about how to be successful, they don't tell you about the things that are going to make you unsuccessful. They don't tell you about
Good point.
the pitfalls that can really get you. That, I mean, I even, when you talk to your, you know, when you're drafting up legal documents, you're talking to your attorneys, and we're, you know, just hiring laws in different states, and
Yeah.
there's so many gotchas that no one tells you till after it's too late. But the patience is in two things. One is of taking the time to make the right decisions. Don't make rash decisions, and make sure that you're knowing all the different things that could occur when you make those decisions. The other patience is when raising capital. You never know how the market's going to turn. You never know what investors are looking for at the specific time, and how much you need. I think those are the big ones, because even for us, even though we've been very successful, and when we ran through our beta, we grew so fast that we had to actually stop and change our technology. We were saying, hey, we can build
That's
this.
exponential growth.
Oh, it was so fast that we had to move on to AWS. We literally had to rewrite our code because we weren't expecting during our alpha and our beta to grow so fast that we started having degradation in our website. And so we had to just put it on hold and rewrite everything and move, like I said, move to AWS and make it scalable. Because we weren't expecting to be as successful as we were, as fast as we were, which became a hindrance because if we would have planned appropriately, when you tell people, hey, you can't play for a little while, I apologize, they're not happy.
Yeah, they're
Um,
not.
and the good thing is it didn't hurt we didn't have attrition. We just had people that now we have to re-engage with them to get them going again. Cause they're like, well, if I can't play right now, I'm going to go play somewhere else.
Yeah. That's actually a couple of good lessons one can learn out of that. The sometimes a lot of people would say that it's a good problem to have with that type of growth, but like in your situation, it was touch and go. I would suppose of obviously needing to stop the wagon first to get the house in order, right?
Yeah. And it's really interesting because, I've worked for some Fortune 50 and Fortune 100 companies, and when you're working for an organization that has pretty much unlimited funds, you never think about those. You think about your budget, but you don't think
Yeah.
about, you can always go get more budget or you get your budget cut, but it's always there. When
Mhm.
you're in charge of your own budget and the raising capital, and even when we first started and we were doing our friends and family and our angel round, we went to one group and they go, well, why aren't you raising $40 million? And I'm like, well, we don't need $40 million, you know? And then you look back and now I understand why they were saying that. Now we never would have needed $40 million, but you want to be overcapitalized in the money that you're bringing in so that your runway, when you do have a hiccup, which like you have to stop your technology and rebuild
Yeah.
it, which was not budgeted for, it becomes an issue. And it's really interesting. And I'm going to air some dirty laundry for us because one of the challenges we had is when we were going through our beta, we started a seed round of investing and we raised part of it and then we stopped raising because we wanted to get our technology all done and the rest of it we wanted to use for marketing and advertising. Then when we went back out into the market, it was like you're too far along for like a pre-seed round.
Yeah.
You've already had too much success. And we weren't going to give up, a huge amount of equity for let's say $2 million. I'm just throwing out a number, but
Yep.
you're not far along enough that you don't have high enough, monthly recurring revenue. So we got in this really weird
Yeah, that's
kind of
a
middle
that's
ground
like a yeah, that's an in-betweener right there, right? Jeez, that's a difficult one.
and it is because we can show, look, we have B2B business. We have, consumers that come, we have no attrition. We have,
Yeah.
people aren't withdrawing money. It's all that, but because of that pause, it put a real big damper on it. And now, we can almost not raise capital and just go through landing B2B deals, but you can't, we want the hyper growth. We don't want to just slowly grow. And that infusion of capital is the one that would do that.
That is fascinating, but I think you guys were in a tight spot.
Yeah,
But that
and
is
it's okay because now we have an ironclad, what we believe is the best tournament platform out there. That's the most compliant, and pays instantly, and the things that we talked about earlier.
yeah,
That once the brand gets well known of like some of our competitors, we're the only one that we know is fully compliant. If and with you never know what legislation is going to change.
yeah,
We're not worried about it.
yeah.
Down to the thing of writing opinion letters to, the credit card agencies to justify and show why we're a game of skill and not gambling and things like that, that we know other of our competitors have not done. We got ahead of all of that.
Yeah, excellent. Jason, having said that, where can the listeners get hold of you guys? What platforms or
It's
emails?
Yeah, and it's pretty basic. I mean, it's just droppinggaming.com is our website. You go there, you can just play around. There's free tournaments to try it out and see if you like it. And then if you want to play for cash and prizes, you can do that also. And then all the socials are, if you just type in Dropping Gaming into any of them, you'll get it. But it's usually Dropping Gaming LLC because Dropping Gaming was taken on a lot of them. But they all link back to us, but it's just Dropping Gaming.
Excellent. Well, Jason, need to thank you. What good insights today. What a backstory you got, man. Geez, that's quite a story to tell. I'm glad you told it on this platform. Thanks for your time. It was fun.
I
All the
really
best.
appreciate it.
Yeah, man. All the best to you and your business. May you guys just grow even more and more and more. That exponential growth. Keep on going with that. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for your time.
Lovely. Same to you. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
Bye now. Bye.